Good evening. I now call to order the regular town board meeting for the town of Arundequoit for April 21st, 2020. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to an executive order issued by Governor Andrew Cuomo regarding the conduct of public meetings during the COVID-19 outbreak. I'm going to ask our participants to please rise. You don't necessarily need a flag to salute. We can still do the Pledge of Allegiance, so please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States
The United States
and
Republic,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Barb, you got to get off mute. There you go.
Get off mute.
Nope, you're good. You're good.
Councilwoman Freeman,
Here.
Councilman Perticone,
Here.
Councilwoman Romeo,
Here.
Councilman Weiner,
Here.
Supervisor Seeley,
Here.
Attorney for the town.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thanks to our team at Town Hall who's participating via Zoom. While the meeting is closed to the public is able to watch. Hopefully they are on ICAT 1301 or on Facebook Live. I want to thank Nate Stone from our IT department for putting this together. And we did this last week. It was conducted efficiently and it allows us to do the business of people during this COVID outbreak. Just a reminder to the board members, try and mute your lines if you're not talking. Now, before we get going with the regular agenda, I just have a few remarks, and normally I do these with the help of Mr. Stone, but now I'm going to share a screen. I hope you all can see that on 3. So we're at a time right now that's pretty unique for town government. We are more than a month into being not shut down, but having town government significantly impacted by the COVID-19 outbreak. But town government still is functioning and meeting the needs of the people, but it is with significant alteration. Right now, all town offices remain closed to the public. They've been that way for, I believe, over a month now, actually over a month. The Arundequoit Police, though, is still fully staffed with minimal civilian staff. Arundequoit DPW, our crews have been broken up to social distance. We've been working on and off weeks and keeping the crews separate to provide for social distancing. In early May, we will be transitioning back into full-time staffing while providing adequate social distancing and worker safety. We will be still operating out of multiple locations in an effort to keep our crews separate to minimize possible transmission of COVID. Our clerk, assessor, building department are still working. They're probably the offices that are doing as much business as usual as can be, just without the normal constituents in town hall. That's the wings of town hall where you'd see the most people during the day, and it breaks our heart to see it empty. But we are doing a lot of work via email, phone. I know Assessor Yorstad has been very busy setting the assessment role, and we'll get to that in a little bit about some changes with that. Recreation is working remotely. We're planning for the summer, but also assessing the level of programming which our public health situation will permit. The recreation guide is going out, but it's with the caveat that we are only going to be able to do these programs if we are able to and it is safe. Our parks are open. We encourage social distancing. We don't want people congregating, playing pickup sports, and we thank people for their cooperation. Our playgrounds, however, are closed. Our courts remain closed by order of the Office of Court Administration. Workers are able to do work remotely now. They essentially were told they couldn't do any work by the Office of Court Administration, but that has since changed. Special events, the Memorial Day Parade, unfortunately, has been canceled. We are assessing Independence Day, given Arundequoit has the largest Independence Day celebration of any municipality in the region. This obviously is something we have to probably take a closer look than any other town. So we're assessing, we're talking with the public health director to give his take on it, and we'll be making a decision in the coming weeks. The library remains closed, but the library still is very busy. They're doing a lot of virtual programming. And then next slide, I'll get to something that they've been doing to work with our local school districts and residents as well. Our town administrative offices, human resources comptroller, the supervisor's office remain in operation. Those are the unfortunate souls who have to work in closest proximity to me, but not as close as normal, as we are still practicing social distancing here at Town Hall. And I'll just say, you know, that across, not want to say behind the scenes, but across the county really, and state for that matter, you know, I'm on several conference calls a day. There's a daily call with the county. We're now doing a call with Irondequoit first responders. We've been working closely with the school district. Our staff is still doing conference calls. There's a lot of coordination going, and government's still operating. The good thing is this affords and makes us better communicators, which we continue to do through the outbreak. A few good things, you know, the town is, I'm proud of this. We've really done a nice job working with FoodLink on food distributions. We were the first town to execute a broad food distribution event at Bishop Kearney in mid-March, and we did a subsequent one at our DPW. We'll continue to do those. I know FoodLink is always looking to partner with local people, boots on the ground, and we've helped make the case that towns can serve as the appropriate infrastructure for executing those events and making sure that people get the food they need. As always, I'm reminded that we do have the best food cupboard, food pantry of any municipality in the area. It's Irondequoit Community Cupboard. That's their contact information. They never turn any residents away. So feel free to reach out to them with that contact information. Debbie Evans and her team are doing a great job throughout all of this, and they're a terrific partner. I am just non-COVID related, although COVID has impacted this. The 2020 census is of vital importance to Irondequoit. Our response rate is up there, as you can see. I don't say it's lagging, but I think we are slightly behind some of our neighboring inner ring towns, which we want to get up. It's critical for us, especially with that 50,000 population threshold. There's a lot of federal funding on the line, and we want to make sure that if anything, we have a complete count that takes place, not just in Irondequoit, but across Monroe County and New York State, as a number of things are impacted by the census, federal funding, congressional apportionment, those sort of things. The census has been pushed out. Much of the field work that comes after the online work will now be done in the late summer and early fall. But right now you can continue to fill it out online, 2020census.gov, and we want to continue to get that response rate up. The Irondequoit Public Library is doing a really nice job. I mentioned they're closed, but they've really been working on an initiative to partner first with our local school districts, but now with our residents on making sure that all our residents have internet access if they need that. There are gaps that exist, and our library generally is a place where people can have free internet access. With it being physically closed, we've made 200 mobile hotspots available that provide Wi-Fi. Our first priority was getting those to the school districts, which we've distributed to the children who need those, working with the school districts. The balance of those 200 Wi-Fi hotspots will be available to library patrons. You can call or text the library at the number that's on the screen, or email them. It's a 21-day lending period, and the library's done a nice job getting that up and running. So feel free to reach out to them if you do need the mobile internet access. We've been complying on the local government side and being mindful of a lot of the executive orders. Not only do they impact public health, those executive orders from the governor, but a lot of them are also allowing local governments to function and adapt and possibly have flexibility during this COVID outbreak. This meeting obviously is an example of that, as we're doing this via audio visual. This is not the permanent norm, but it does allow us to continue to conduct government and meet the level of need that government has to. A couple other recent examples. Over the weekend, the governor issued an executive order pertaining to marriage licenses, which now can be done via Zoom. I know people are still looking to get married, which is good, and we're always happy to be a participant and help facilitate that most blessed days. I was one of those constituents who benefited from Clerk Janier's administration of marriage licenses last summer, and many residents are still inclined to do that this year. So if you still want to do that, you can contact Barb Janier, and that's the contact information. This is more recent today, and we'll have a subsequent resolution speaking to this. But the governor yesterday issued a executive order regarding the function of the town and city assessors as to setting their property rolls. This is something I know assessors have been looking for perhaps back in March, but the governor has allowed municipalities to push out the date of their rolls being published. Normally it's May 1st. At the direction of Assessor Yorsad, we're gonna push it out 2 weeks. So the tentative roll will be published on May 15th. Grievance day will be June 10th, and the final roll will be July 15th. So basically, we're pushing it out 2 weeks, and it allows us to get a complete roll. I know Amy has been working very hard under not less than ideal circumstances, and her staff has been doing a good job. This is not easy to do during a COVID outbreak because it's the time of year where her office needs to be full steam ahead. So I think she can benefit. She's indicated she can benefit from that extra 2 weeks, and it still allows us to get an accurate roll. I just want to point out a few reference points, and then we'll move on with our meeting. The Attorney General has a really good page for COVID-19 resources, but also warnings. I think we want to make sure consumers are informed during this time. So on her website, and as well as a hotline number that's on there, there's a number of areas where they can be of assistance or allow residents to or constituents of New York to report possible violations of consumer-related issues during the COVID outbreak. And it's a really good website. I just encourage people to check that out. It has good information about student loan protections for the CARE Act provides from debt collectors, other things as well. And then there's benefit at all levels of government with really good resource pages at all. I know Congressman Morelli has a page set up that has really state, local, and federal programs, particularly as it relates to some of the small business provisions, the PPP under the CARE Act, which hopefully will have more funding authorized by Congress soon. County Executive Bello set up a really good local page for COVID. There's some county initiatives that are Monroe County specific that he's spearheading, and as well as at the state level. Certainly Governor Cuomo has been doing a great job, but there's state information relative to unemployment insurance, other things. So we just encourage, I think government's doing a really good job in packaging information. There's a lot going on, but we just encourage you to look out and use these resources. Some good news, and we announced this last week, the Pat Stone Senior Living Complex at the former Sears. We're doing a contest in coordination with Pat Stone where residents, Irondequoit residents, Hesperia Irondequoit residents can submit ideas for what the final name of the project will be. We're encouraging students to partake in this. I know I've spoken with both superintendents of East and West Irondequoit, encouraging them to get word out. There is a $500 prize, which I should have had in the slide, but submissions are due in mid-May, and we will have a committee that will narrow them down and then have a public online vote. So this is exciting. I thank Pat Stone for partaking in this. This is an exciting event. We've already had, I think, a couple dozen submissions already, and so we'll have a lot of good selections to pick from. And finally, April staff is not one word, but normally at the end of my remarks, I point out who our winner of our staff spotlight award was that we generally do during workshop. I just wanted to take the opportunity to point out our town staff who's been working to serve our residents during this time. And, you know, it's ranging from our first responders, those participating in the food distribution, to some of the administrative staff members who are still making sure that some of the most basic things we do in government continue. These are less than ideal times, and one thing that is not diminished, I think, is our constituents' expectation of the level of government and service they should receive, and rightfully so. So our goal has been to not have any diminishment in that level of service and lowering the bar of expectation. So thank you to all of our great staff, and hopefully the time will come when we will be able to do our staff spotlight, focus on one member of our staff. Until then, I just want to give a round of applause to all of our staff. And that is the extent of my remarks. Hopefully everyone can see each other now. And I will now move on. Madam Clerk, what do we have up now?
We have the financial report.
Financial report. Just note, we did not receive any public input via email, so you will not hear me read any emails on behalf of our residents. We're probably all better for that. I will now ask Comptroller Marsh to read the financial report.
Thank you. The 2020 financial results for the town as of March 31st. Total expenses, actual as well as encumbered, are $10,177,000 or 27.6% of budget, which is higher than the 25% of the year that has elapsed. The breakdown is actual expenses, $6,924,000 and encumbered expenses, $3,253,000. Encumbrances are typically high early in the year as departments establish and commit to commodities, service, and supplies that will be needed during the year. The general fund expenses are above budget at 26.6% or $5,857,000. The breakdown is actual expenditures, $4,409,000 and encumbrances, $1,448,000. In aggregate, the expenses of the highway funds are $1,781,000 or 32.6% of budget, above the 25% of the year that has elapsed. Encumbrances account for $779,000 or 14.3% and include fuel, salt, and equipment parts. Expenditures in the library are under budget at $406,000 or 15%. Sewer fund expenses are at 28.8% of budget, equating to $1,208,000. The stormwater drainage total expenses are $578,000, which is 46.1% of budget. Actual expenditures are $97,000, 7.8%, while encumbrances account for 38.3%. Included in the encumbered amount is a Vector truck costing approximately $386,000, which is 30.8% of budget, which is carried over from the prior year. A grant was awarded to the town to partially offset this cost. General fund revenue received is $11,808,000 or 54.4% of budget. At the end of March, the town has received $11,185,000 of real estate tax, 100% of budget, and 60.3% of payment in lieu of tax payments have been received. Regarding the entire town, $23,566,000 or 65.3% of revenue and appropriated fund balance have been received to date. Approximately $17.5 million of the amount received is real estate tax and special district assessments. At month end, the library has received $2,540,000 or 93.9% of its budgeted revenue. The highway has received $4,138,000 or 76.2%. Sewer fund has received $4,035,000 or 97.7%. 99.7% of the stormwater drainage receipts have been received, totaling $837,000. And moving forward, the third page of the financial report presents the first quarter summary in comparison to the prior 6 years. Regarding expenditures by fund, which are included on the top third of the page, the percent of total current budget spent and encumbered is 26% and is on par with the first quarters of the previous years. The middle third of the page contains the pertinent sources of revenue for the general fund, while the bottom third of the page allows for revenue comparisons of the other funds, with the last line reflecting the collective revenue and fund balance for the town. The general fund revenue of 54.4% is slightly lower than the prior years and can be partially attributed to reduced recreation fees resulting from COVID-19. The overall town revenue and fund balance of 65.3% is slightly lower than the previous year. This concludes my financial report for the month of March 2020.
Thank you, Diana. Any questions for the comptroller? I'll just note a few things. The revenue is slightly less than it would be trending in previous years. As we move through the year, that's probably going to be significantly less, as I would expect our next sales tax disbursement to be significantly lower, probably very alarmingly lower, but I know we have gotten some positive signs from the federal government that state and local governments will be able to be reimbursed or compensated for lost revenue that is derivative from COVID. So we continue to keep an eye. I know Senator Schumer has been pushing for that, Congressman Morelli. I do also know that the county might be receiving some flexibility in how it's spending its disaster COVID funding north of $100 million. Hopefully part of that will be able to make local governments whole in the Moran Ryan sales tax disbursement. So, and I have talked with department heads, particularly those with larger budgets, about starting to look at contingencies as we move through the year. We'll have a better idea once we have that first quarter sales tax disbursement, but it's not out of line to think we would need to make some mid-year adjustments. Hopefully not anything too drastic. With that, I'll take a motion to accept the financial report.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The report is accepted. Madam Clerk?
Okay, we're on to the approval of minutes. March 10th, 2020, the workshop meeting.
A motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved.
March 17th, 2020, the regular town board meeting.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
No one wants to second our minutes. Yeah, any questions, comments, revisions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The minutes are approved. Before we move to items for board action, I should have said this at the onset. The regularly scheduled public hearing for the rezoning of 2732 Culver Road will be opened at 7:45 pursuant to our town code. However, we will not be conducting the hearing tonight. It will be held open until next month at the very least. Madam Clerk, we can now move on to items for board action.
Item number 2, authorizing the appointment to the Town of Arundecoit Board of Assessment Review.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Madam Assessor, an explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So we have a couple of vacancies on the Board of Assessment Review that need to be filled. This is one of them. I'm asking that Renee Pritchard be appointed. She is an appraiser. She's qualified to sit on this board, willing. She is an Arundecoit resident, and I'm looking forward to having her on board.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 3, authorizing a settlement agreement with HD Development of Maryland, Inc.
Motion.
Vote.
And a second.
Second.
I think I'm gonna start calling on everyone for a motion. We don't
Okay.
volunteer them. Comptroller, your side explanation, please.
Well, I'm the assessor, but okay. Thanks, Mr.
You want
Supervisor.
to be the comptroller? We can-
No, I sure don't.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to be the assessor these days. So no.
So this is a settlement that is regarding the Home Depot building business, I guess. And this was originally settled a few years back, and during the reval, they were reassessed, and the assessment was changed, so they had the opportunity to grieve again, which they did. And so this resolution basically is settling it again. It's a good settlement for us. There's going to be, relatively speaking, a minimum of refunds, and I think it should be approved.
Thanks. And I'll just note that the current assessment for 18 and 19, 6.53 million. The stipulated reduced assessment 6.2. So that's actually, I don't say nominal, but very close to the current assessment, and probably about for our tax purposes, about $2,000 approximately annually. So nicely done on this, Amy. Assessor Yorsad. And any questions or comments on the resolution?
No, thanks for your work, Amy.
You're welcome.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 4, scheduling a public hearing pertaining to amending the citizen participation plan as required for Arundequoit's Community Development Block Grant Program.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
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 Thank you. This is under comptroller, but will explain as I was the one that probably necessitated it. We are generally, as part of our citizen participation plan that the federal government requires for the Community Development Block Grant Program, which I spoke to earlier when talking about the census, our citizen participation plan, in addition to including multiple public hearings, also has an ad hoc citizen review committee that's not required by the federal government, but certainly something that we have done over the years to give an extra layer of both transparency and citizen input. Just with the COVID outbreak this year, it became a little bit of an undertaking. So even though we're not required by the federal government to do this, we elected not to this year have the Citizen Ad Hoc Review Committee. Because it is in our current plan, our citizen participation plan, we felt it best to revise the citizen participation plan to make that ad hoc committee, the citizen review committee, not mandatory, but an elective that we could do every year. I still plan on having it in subsequent years where there isn't a public health outbreak, but for this year, we did forego it, and this proposed amendment to the citizen participation plan just would make us in compliance as we go through our 2020, 2021 CDBG process. So it would set a public hearing for next month. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Item number 5, authorizing the scheduling of a public hearing pertaining to the adoption of the Arundequoit 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. This is our annual public hearing that allows for citizen input to the proposed 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program for the town of Arundequoit. Board members have in their packet the proposed recommendations from the supervisor, which will be considered in a subsequent meeting. Public hearing allows for the public to comment on the proposed disbursement of that nearly $900,000 in federal money. So I invite the board members over the next month to review the proposed program. There's not much variance from last year. There are a few new things. And I will note also, we did receive through the first CARE Act, the first stimulus, about $540,000 in additional CDBG money, which we will not be yet putting before the board a proposed disbursement. What we'll do is we'll adopt our initial CDBG plan and then subsequently amend it to include that additional $540,000. So this was set the public hearing for next month. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And the resolution is adopted.
Item number 6, authorizing attendance to the New York State Magistrate Annual Conference.
Motion
Moved.
Move.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. And Mr. Mary, an explanation, please?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The resolution before the board seeks the board's permission for the court to send 2 of our justices to the 111th New York State Magistrates Association Annual Conference being held in Syracuse this year. The budget or the money is previously budgeted.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 7, authorizing grant application from the Justice Court Assistance Program.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Perdico. Mr. Marion, an explanation, please.
The resolution before the board seeks permission from the board for me as a court administrator to submit an application to OCA's Justice Court Assistance Program grant, We have had some success getting money to improve court facilities, infrastructure, and equipment in the past, and I would like the opportunity to try to submit that application, which will be due in October.
Very nice. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And the resolution is adopted.
Item number 8, authorizing an amendment to the 2020 operating budget of the Justice Court to accept a grant from New York State in the amount of $10,243 for traffic safety bollards and concrete repair for the town court.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Mr. Marion, it was a very good title, self-explanatory, but please a brief explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This resolution seeks permission from the board to accept into my budget the award for my JCAP application from 2019-2020, which I submitted last October. That was, as the town clerk mentioned, for traffic control bollards and for a new apron to repair some broken concrete in front of the town court. I will be continuing with those improvements with my application.
Any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 9, authorizing acting chief of police to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives and the Arundecoit Police Department regarding the E-Trace internet-based firearm tracing application.
Motion.
Moved.
Move.
In a second.
Second.
Thank you. Acting Chief Laird, explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This memorandum of understanding is intended to formalize the partnership that we already have with the ATF and the Arundecoit Police Department regarding the policies and procedures utilizing this new E-Trace services. Currently, the program is done through a paper system, and this would allow us to do a paperless firearm trace submission through the internet to help us solve cases, maximize our investigative information with illegal firearms, and supplement the analysis of crimes involving gun trends and trafficking patterns.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Item number 10, accepting a gift of white pine saplings.
Motion.
Move.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Kylie, explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This resolution formally accepts 50 white pine saplings from Bartlett Tree Experts, a value of $200. These saplings have been donated by Bartlett Tree, and they have been planted at the DPW facility on the berm to assist with screening for local residents there. I would like to thank Councilwoman Romeo for assisting and facilitating this donation.
I second that, and this is good, responsive to community and our neighbors, and hopefully have a nice impact. Any questions or comments?
Can I just give a shout out to a friend, Noreen Reardon from Bartlett, who made this happen. She's a local arborist, a great friend, and we work on a project called One More Tree Planted.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kimmy, and thank you for your work on this.
Thank
you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The resolution is adopted. We'll do one more, Madam Clerk, before the hearing.
Item number 11, authorizing the lease of a mail machine to be used by the Department of Public Works.
Motion.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Kylie, explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This resolution authorizes the lease of a mail machine for the Department of Public Works. Previously, we had been utilizing the mail machine at the town hall facility, but as now we are off-site, we seek to acquire a new mail machine via lease. The lowest responsible quote was Lineage at a cost of $80.90 per month.
Thank you, Bob. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The resolution is adopted. Madam Clerk, the public hearing, please.
Okay. Item 4, PH 2020-1, on the matter of rezoning 2732 Culver Road, St. Cecilia Church of Rochester, from R2 residential to R5 residential.
Motion to open the public hearing, excuse me.
Moved.
In a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous vote. The hearing is now open. As I explained early, we are going to be keeping this hearing open until our May 19th meeting. It will take place. It'll be the third public hearing that night. Just a little background on I guess where we are in the COVID age. There's 2 executive orders that necessitate us keeping this open until next month. The first was with regards to public meetings, which was early in the COVID outbreak that the governor issued, allowing us to conduct meetings via audio visual. However, he has also subsequently, and we had always intended to keep it open, but he has also subsequently issued an executive order saying that no local government can conduct a public hearing without providing residents the opportunity to testify or provide testimony via telephone or video conferencing, which we do intend to do. And I know Carrie Ivers is working with the Planning and Zoning Board for their public hearings. So we will keep this hearing on the proposed rezoning of 2732 Culver Road, also known as St. Cecilia's Church of Rochester, proposed to be rezoned from R2 residential to R5 on application by Episcopal Senior Life. It is my intent to keep that open until next month. We don't need to take a vote, but if any board member wishes to speak to this or why we shouldn't do that, you may do so now. Your silence will indicate unanimous consent to keep it open. Okay, so we'll keep it open until next month. I will note that Ms. Ivers and her department have already notified pursuant to our town code and town policy, the residents living within a radius of the proposed rezone. This has already been posted by our clerk in accordance with state law. We will not need to repost it, but we will make sure that we are diligent in informing the public about the conduct of the hearing moving forward. With that, Madam Clerk, we can now move back to our items for board action. I believe we're on number 12 under Public Works.
You're absolutely right. Pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act regarding Sea Breeze wastewater pump station improvements.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Kiley, enlighten us.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This resolution and the next resolution are mirrored. Thus, if I can, I'll introduce them both. Both this resolution for the Sea Breeze wastewater pump station and the next resolution for the Point Pleasant wastewater pump station are both State Environmental Quality Review Act reviews for the improvements to both pump stations. Both of these pump stations have been identified, and we have been awarded grant funding through the Lake Ontario Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative, the READY process. Both of these pump stations will have new pumps installed, which will be able to increase the capacity for wastewater to be pumped and obviously pumped up for treatment elsewhere. This resolution specifically reviewed the environmental impacts associated with the installation of a material which the pumps existing, it's a replacement in kind, which falls under the category of a type 2 action pursuant to seeker. Thus, there is no seeker review, there is no seeker process here, there is no adverse impact to the environment. And as such, the resolution would classify this as a type 2 with no environmental impacts.
Thank you, Robert. Any questions or comments on the resolution in chief? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And the resolution is adopted.
Item number 13, pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act regarding the Point Pleasant wastewater pump station improvements.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thanks. And Bob, do you feel need to add anything here? Or? Okay.
Again, this is a type 2 action pursuant to seeker, and as such, this would have a no environmental impact.
Thanks. And I'll note this pump station services the bottom of the hill off Point Pleasant, where we've had a lot of flooding along Bayfront North, correct?
Correct. So this would be Bayfront North, Schnackle Drive, and portions of Bayfront South.
I don't like using the word ground zero, but that's really where residentially it's been the worst of what we've seen, correct? Okay. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 14, authorizing the renewal of contract for the purchase of various non-alcoholic beverages for the McAvoy Park Sports Complex.
Motion?
Move.
A second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Romeo. Ms. Hall, an explanation, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So this resolution is to extend our contract with Wright Beverage for the purchase of non-alcoholic beverages at McAvoy Park. We entered into contract last year, and this is the first of the one-year renewal that the contract allowed.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Item number 15, authorizing the supervisor to enter into various contracts with vendors for the town's 2020 Farmers Market and Gazebo Concert Series.
Motion?
Move.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Perticone. Ms. Hall, an explanation, please.
Thank you. Yes, this is to ask permission to enter into contracts for entertainment at both the Market and the Gazebo Concert Series. If we are able to hold these concerts, we wanted to enter into the contracts now. All the compensation rates and the entertainers were listed in the town board packet.
Thanks, Katrina. And I'll note on the onset, our public market it will continue, but it's going to be pared down. The Department of Ag and Markets has provided some guidelines as the conduct of public markets, and they want them to stay open because they're a source of fresh food and nutrition for people. But some of the secondary components of the market, including the entertainment, we'll have to do a wait and see as to what is, I guess, prudent to move forward with and also permissible under public health guidelines. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 16, acknowledging and authorizing the town assessor to extend tentative and final assessment roll dates pursuant to Governor's Executive Order 202.22.
Motion?
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. This is an amendment to our agenda, and I advance this for the board's consideration. An executive order issued last night by the governor pertaining to the setting of assessment rolls by city and town assessors. Pursuant to the executive order mentioned by the clerk, we are allowed to, at the discretion of the assessor, move those out at most 30 days. And I think the assessor has indicated that her intention to do so, 15 days, as I mentioned earlier on. It was felt in abundance of caution for the board to just acknowledge and authorize the assessor moving forward. So this is our acknowledgement that she has the ability to do that, and our authorization. She might debate whether she needs it or not, but we feel that a little authorization never hurt anybody, right, Amy? And with that, I'll take any questions or comments. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution is adopted. So this concludes our body of work for this month's regular town board meeting for the town of Arundecoit. I want to thank everyone for participating. We hope the day is not too distant where we're all in the Broderick room again together. But for now, technology allows us to continue to conduct the business of the people and see each other's smiling faces and hopefully not have any gasps from audio visual points of view, which I hope there were none today, besides myself, of course. Our next town board meeting will be held May 19th, 7 PM, in a location to be determined. Right now, we have it noticed at the Broderick Meeting Room of Town Hall. That might change. The same goes for our next regularly scheduled workshop meeting, May 12th, 4 PM. We will post it in the Broderick Room. There may be a subsequent amendment to the location of that meeting. I will now take a motion to adjourn.
Motion. I'm
And a
moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone. Be safe. Godspeed.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Town Board on ICAT, Government Access.